Hi there. This is part two of my current worldview. Here goes. Sadly, we live in a world where evil and sin is dominant. People live to feed their own emotional addictions. People are starving for love, but don't know what it looks or feels like. As a result, people have placed the mathematics of the mind above the workings of the heart. Brain science and neurology dominates the medical field. Issues pertaining to the mind dominate many religious discussions. The mind's development is thought to be the primary objective for a successful life. It is thought that the full utilization of the mind is the great trophy of existence, such that its health and elevation would lead to all the most coveted gifts that life has to offer. Herein lies the gross travesty of existence on earth. We attempt to replace the heart, which is and always will be the primary motivator, with the workings of the mind, whose rightful place is as servant to the Sacred Heart. Little do we believe that it is a healthy heart that can drive a healthy mind. Without full consciousness of what it is we are doing, we attempt to impose abstract rules and doctrine upon the workings of the heart and keep ourselves in a box. But, as the popular saying goes, the heart wants what it wants, and the heart wants what it wants, whether the thing it wants is an evil or unloving end, or a loving one. In vain we attempt to rigidly follow the decrees our wounded heart has put upon our own mind, and end up hamstringing our every action. Look at the tired and huddled masses, and the way we seem to mill about the earth, like fearful cockroaches, trapped in a spider web of our own making. Look at the way we grab for coffee, sugary food, and alcoholic drink, senselessly driving through the hours of the day with gambling, violent games, endless voyeurism, and tacky sexual escapades. Are we acting like the pinnacles of God's creation, or are we sleeping zombies, too afraid of our own heart's desires to act on them, too afraid of what love might actually be to actually look for it, too wasted and burdened by our own collection of sin? If there is a God, we say to ourselves, surely he is as evil as we are. How pitiful and depraved we are. How sad it is that we repeatedly deny the opportunity of a relationship with the most humble and loving entity in the universe, our own loving Creator. How sad that we make up lies about and spite our own loving Creator. And all the while, through the depths of our sin, our dearest God still loves us and seeks our return to her bosom. How deep and vast, long-suffering and steadfast, is the love of our own Creator. And so we are born into this world, scared and frightened children, not knowing where to turn or what is right and good. We try, and are betrayed and bullied, and deliberately lied to. How easy it is, then, to obey the influence of the darkest of hearts. How easy is it to covet the golden ticket, to follow the carrot on the stick. We sell our souls for a pocketful of promises. How often do we, over the course of our lives, sell our own agency and lease our own autonomy to the willing hands of earthly subjects, our supposed rulers? Then perhaps the previous statements I made of the relationship of the slave to the slave master ought now be amended. For are we slaves or just childish victims, too afraid to attempt to take responsibility over our own lives, too morally defunct and apathetic to believe there may be a greater purpose to our lives? There may be a greater purpose to our very lives. In this great churning and chaotic milieu enters all the false beliefs of the current age. Included among them is that there is no God, that the universe came about and is sustained through the workings of chance and happenstance, that we evolved from lower life forms, that the earth is a globe revolving around the sun, that vaccines and drugs treat illness, that Jesus was no mere man but an immortal God, and that the most refined elites in the halls of power have the best interests of the people in their own innermost hearts. The reality is much different. God is a being of amazing love and compassion who has created souls to be her children, to operate in this great playground we call the universe. We are the pinnacles of God's creation, able to receive all the healing abilities and knowledge of Jesus, if we are only to seek God's love with all our hearts. We live on the surface of a flat earth, not on a careening globe on the edge of space. The universe was created with intention and love, and the gifts that await us are available should we choose to act with love in obedience to God's loving laws. And while many of the highest authorities in government and power structures are good, as John F. Kennedy once said, we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. By some estimates, there are as many as 50,000 ritualistic sacrifices in the country of the United States alone. In many cases, these are children who are violently beaten and sodomized before being killed. Therefore, thereafter, the blood of the victim is drunk. The media is controlled. How it is controlled and to what degree I do not know, but it skews to favor the elites. Around the world, false flag attacks are conducted to guide people into war. I believe that Pearl Harbor and 9/11 are examples of such false flags. Internally, acts of terror and brutality, sometimes fake, sometimes real, and sometimes a mix of both, are perpetrated in order to dispense fear in the masses of people and or to distract from pressing issues. Examples of these include the Boston Marathon bombing, and the Sandy Hook shooting. These slave masters are ruthless killers who have one thing in mind: self-preservation. They are in power because the common man will not stand up and take responsibility for his or her own life, including all their sins and mistakes. Contrary to popular opinion, God has the heart to forgive even the worst sin imaginable. But we believe God is not a loving God. We vainly attempt to hide our sin and lie our way to supposed peace and to troubled safety. We carry this sin unchecked throughout our lives. Year by year, the burden of our sin bears down upon us, causing all the disease and unfortunate events of our lives. Better that we repent and seek God's forgiveness, which is ever ready for the sincere heart. It is only through sincerity that God can remove the sin from us. True correction of sinful behavior requires that we see the reasons why we have committed this sin. As we grow in love, we grow in truth. The changes we've made in our soul can be felt as inexplicable differences by those around us. We begin to see the sickness in society and call it for what it is. Instead of feeding it, we cut it off. We refuse the demands of hateful people because of our love for them. As we grow in love, we drop our addictive behavior and stop enabling the addictions we see in others. And as that occurs, we remove our own shackles and stand in our own authority by the responsibility we take over our own lives. In conclusion, I just want to say that I don't have all the answers. I am an adept and a student. I have many faults, as can clearly be seen by any observer. God knows me through and through. My heavenly parent will teach me as long as I remain humble to the truth of my own gut feelings. I pray that I may change and become a better man and find my soulmate. I am not a great man. I don't expect anyone to listen to me. This is my current worldview.